Hello everyone, my name is Halamin and today I will be doing my 10-minute speech about genetic engineering on humans. In this speech, I will talk about what genetic engineering is, why it is important and relevant to us, and also the two viewpoints on genetic engineering. There are many people out there who disagree with genetic engineering because they view it as ethically wrong and cruel to the embryo, baby, or human that it's being tested on. On the other hand, there are people who agree with it because it could benefit them or us as a society in many ways. I myself am a nursing student, so I will probably be faced or deal with it in some way, shape, or form. This might also lead to me having to determine which side I support as research progresses and it starts becoming common. I don't really have a side I currently choose because this topic itself has many pros and cons. It also has more depth to it than just changing one's DNA. To explain what genetic engineering is, here's a short video that lightly explains it.
What is genetic engineering? Genetic engineering is the process of altering a DNA structure by either adding or removing genes from it to form a newer gene framework with desirable characteristics. It can be applied to both animals and plants, since both are living organisms with their own DNA structures. The resultant organism is often called a GMO, a genetically modified organism.
As you can see, genetic engineering can be performed on living organisms. It's already been done on plants, and an example of that would be crops like corn, cotton, and soybeans. These crops were genetically modified to resist insects and pests, and they also are now commonly used by farmers in the U.S. In the Center for Food Safety article, it mentions how 92% of corns, 94% of soybeans, and 94% of cottons are genetically modified in the U.S. This shows how commonly consuming these genetically engineered food has become. The commonality of eating these foods could also suggest the possibility of genetic engineering on humans becoming common or normalized in the future. Even though we know the research behind genetically engineering a plant, there is still a lot of research and studies going on about genetically engineering a human. The reason this topic is important is because as technology advances, humans are going to have the desire to advance along with it. We see this every day all around us. Videos on how to be strong and gain muscles, how to naturally grow taller, and how to look a certain way. Many of these videos seem shallow, but it shows us what humans are like in a way. Naturally, humans are going to want to be the best of the best at everything, and this might be reflected in genetic engineering. There are already some articles out there on designer babies. If you don't know, designer babies are babies that will be genetically modified to turn out or look a certain way. Things like being genetically modified so you're more athletic, smarter, or having a certain feature that your parents deem more attractive, like being tall. This all sounds superficial, but there are also reasons that would benefit us, like curing genetic diseases. Many people every day go through the sad reality of being diagnosed with a genetic disease like breast cancer. We can use genetic engineering to stop or get rid of the disease altogether. The limits will be endless if we can figure it out and master it, but the problem is, who do we test it on? This is the ethical question that comes to mind when people think about genetic engineering. How's the test being done? Let's first start off with the side that supports genetic engineering. Supporting genetic engineering doesn't mean you share the same views as someone else who supports genetic engineering. Your reason for supporting can be totally different from theirs. Though one main argument when it comes to arguing for genetic engineering is the possibility of stopping or getting rid of the chance of getting a disease or illness. The disease can be hereditary or something you get down the line in life. Everyone out there has experienced getting diagnosed or seeing someone you know, like a loved one, getting diagnosed. It's absolutely heart-wrenching, and it's something you would never want to experience. In 2018, there was a case in China where a scientist named He Jiankyu, I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, genetically modified two twin girls, so they were born with genes that made them immune to HIV. He had a couple where the male was an HIV carrier, and using the CRISPR technology, he was able to disable the CCR5 gene that enables the HIV infection. CCR5 is also related to human brain function, so he might have also accidentally done some type of human enhancement where he created two intelligent humans with better memories and higher IQ. Although the focus is on disease, seeing the result of how these two twin girls will turn out might encourage scientists and researchers to study more on the CCR5 when it comes to genetically modifying a designer baby.
Two beautiful little Chinese girls named Lulu and Lala came crying into the world as healthy as any other babies a few weeks ago.
Chinese biophysicist He Jiankui, working largely in secret, had used CRISPR to knock out a gene called CCR5 in 2 early human embryos, then returned the embryos to their mother's womb. CCR5 plays a key role in HIV infection, and the girl's father was HIV positive.
The 2 girls are reported to be happily living well and that they want privacy. This research shows the successful story of gene editing. This could also inspire many new research and development in the near future that could tackle diseases like cancer or heart disease. This would make it so we don't have to dread losing someone to a painful death because of their disease. It would also give people a chance to not experience going through a disease or being able to help get better from a life-threatening condition. As a kid, I remember having a cousin with sickle cell disease, and sometimes she would be in pain. I didn't really understand it, but it was hard to see her cry because she was around the same age as me, and I could tell it was really painful. She would also have to go to the hospital frequently, and just thinking back and remembering her parents' reaction pains me. I know that they would have done anything that they could to make her better, and that's how a lot of people feel when it comes to dealing with some sort of disease or illness. This advancement in technology could really help many people. Although all of this is great, it does seem to raise an ethical concern. When it comes to genetic engineering, people question the risk and ethics behind it. What about the humans being tested on? What if it causes more health problems than fixing it? Should we really have a choice in how a human is born? If designer babies become a thing, wouldn't the rich just use that to their advantage to become better since they can afford it? All of these questions are valid, and it makes you wonder, if we genetically modify someone, what will happen to that person's offspring? Many health issues could come from the change in genetic coding, like allergies of some sort or cancer being developed. In a New York Times article, it states about a failed case on 3 German sisters whose body failed to produce the essential enzyme arginase. They were infected with a virus called Shop papilloma so that the genetic information of the virus can become part of the children's cells and create the enzyme needed. The treatment wasn't successful. The New York Times article shows Dr. Terhagen informing that it was unsuccessful, and the infant seems to have developed an allergic-like reaction from which she recovered in a few days. Worse things could have happened if the research had gone on. Was it even ethical in the first place to experiment on these children, knowing that their life was on the line? Another problem that I talked about before is designer babies. Sure, choosing what trait your baby will have seems cool, but unfortunately, we as a society seem to follow the beauty trend. Parents genetically engineering their baby would choose traits that fit into the beauty standard or that meets their expectation. If we all did that, then we wouldn't really be unique anymore. Everyone being born right now has characteristics and traits that differ from each other. This is what makes us different and unique. Something else is the price of genetically engineering our baby. We know that genetic engineering will be pricey. Like I said before, will only the rich be able to genetically modify since they will be the ones who can definitely afford it? Would that cause a difference among us and make us more separated? Imagine being bullied because your parents weren't able to afford genetically modifying you and you look different from the rest. This would amplify the separation not only because of luck, but because of skills and abilities. Who said genetic engineering was going to stop at characteristics? If looking different doesn't seem to bother you, then that's alright. But if certain people are able to become stronger, more intelligent, or more athletic because they can afford it, then it's unfair. Doesn't that mean that only the rich can become this advanced human being, while people living paycheck to paycheck can't? What about the athletes that work hard training every day that weren't given an opportunity to be genetically modified? Or someone who works hard studying and learning? Imagine working so hard toward your passion and goal only to be beaten by someone who's born genetically better than you because they were able to genetically modify their DNA, or their parents chose to. It seems unfair, and there really isn't anything you can do. This is both viewpoints on genetic engineering and what genetic engineering is. You don't have to necessarily care about the topic, but as genetic engineering progresses in research and studies, we will most likely be faced with it in our everyday life. I hope you guys learned a little from this video and have a small understanding of what genetic engineering is and the possibilities it has.